Good morning, friends. Steve here. And today we're going to tackle the um, concept of reality. And we'll all have ideas about reality. and, um, and one thing that we might agree with is that reality is a construct. So, in other words, we may not all agree with this, but we may agree with this that we do construct our own reality. And we're working within a construct of reality that that we may have constructed, and we may find ourselves in agreement with others who have constructed a similar reality. Be that as it may, here we are, living on a planet that we call the Earth, or some call Gaia. There may be other names. I can't remember if Pachamama is the name for the Earth, but that could be another name. So today I'm going to really introduce a few things that might be new to some of you, that might be old hat, as they say, or as they used to say, like a long time ago. And I've been here for 73 years. And so a lot of the sayings, and I'm noticing a lot of the sayings are from out of the past. I mean, all the sayings are from out of the past, unless you're coming up with something brand new in the moment. All the things that we say, all the words that were created by someone else. And all the words have a vibrational tone, and that tone can change depending on how we use the word or how the word sounds when we use it. So we can say, have a good day, and it can have a particular feeling to a person. Um, or we can say, oh, have a good day, and that has the same words, that has a different tone, and maybe a different meaning conveyed. And so I've studied neuro-linguistic programming, and you can just look it up. It's so complex. There's so many aspects to it. And I found it very useful in terms of understanding language and understanding myself through my use of language. So even though I've studied it since '86, so um, in 2 years, I will have studied it over the past 40 years, which is longer than many people that have been alive. Probably half the population of the world is I don't know this to be true, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Half the population of the world is under the age of the amount of time I've studied neurolinguistic programming. That doesn't mean I'm good at it. It just means I've studied it. And, you can determine whether or not I'm good at it based on whether you feel like I'm communicating well to you. And everybody hears things differently. So I may say something, and then you may repeat what I say to someone else and say something completely different. Just for example, I was explaining to a client friend, all my clients are friends. I was explaining to a client friend that I had discovered something that was new for me, which was the deep self. And this was in early December um, of 2023. So just a few months ago, maybe 4 months. And I discovered this experience of going into the deep self. So I'm going to recommend you think about the deep self. I've made videos on the deep self. You might want to watch them. I watch my videos quite frequently because I find them useful, because I feel like when I speak, to the internet universe, I have all my helpers and guides speaking with me. So we're kind of a unified front for the life of Steve and how I've gotten to this place. And you might ask, well, is it a really good place? And I say it just really depends on the day and my perspective. Because really, one of the things is if we want to begin working with this construct that we create our own reality, then when our reality really seems to, you could use the term suck, um, when our reality really seems to suck, we have to go like, oh man, I created a reality that sucks. That sucks. And then we can get down on ourselves and get into really bad feelings and then create a worse reality, possibly, or say, can it get any worse than this? And then all of a sudden it does. And we go, oh, why did it get worse? Well, you ask the question, can it get worse? And possibly the universe answered, yes, it can get worse. So I think it's good for all of us to imagine or to hold in our construct, our creation of reality, that things won't appear to get worse than they appear to already be. Now, if they don't appear to you in your reality that they're not so good, then you can make a little comment in the comments section below and say, no, my reality is really good right now. Then I can go to your site and find out how you've created a really good reality. Um, Even though we may think we're good at some things, sometimes I can feel like, let's just get real clear, I can feel like I'm lacking in creating a reality that I like. Overall, my reality is okay, good background, my yard, chairs to sit in warm, non-damp weather, or you can sit in them in coolish, damp weather as well, but probably not with as much enjoyment. Okay, having said a lot of things without saying much, I'm going to just make a couple suggestions through these videos on things that I have found useful. One of them is the Mayan calendar, and I'm going to show you the calendar. This is this year's calendar. The year, the Mayan year starts in, I don't know, I think it's July. It's June or July, but I'm pretty sure it's July. And I think the first day of the year is July 26th. I could look in the calendar, but I just don't want to. So, but anyway, the calendar goes from maybe the 26th, um, which is the first, and it goes around to the whatever it is, the 24th, and then there's a day without time. I hope that didn't confuse too many of you. Obviously, I've been working with this calendar a bit since the 80s, and I still don't have it completely figured out. But the one thing I want to say is there are 20 kin. So, like there are 12 signs of the zodiac. So, you might be born when the sun is in Taurus, or the sun is in Capricorn, or the sun is in Leo, Scorpio. Those are 12 signs of the zodiac where the sun, what part of the sky the sun was in. That may not be accurate, but it's my reality. Okay. And if yours is, you're going to write, you don't know anything about astrology. And I would say, well, it's not true. I know the word Capricorn and I know some things about that, but I don't know much about astrology. So I'm not going to talk a lot about astrology, about your rising sign, your sun sign, moon sign, and moonshine, and any of that stuff. I'm not going to be talking about that stuff because I know very little about it. And truthfully, I'm no expert in the Mayan calendar. The thing that I understand, and the exact dates, I'm not going to give you the exact dates because they're 25,000, 600 and whatever years. I'm just going to use 26,000 years because I'm rounding up. So I'm going to say that our Earth goes around our central sun. So our sun and our Earth go through the galaxy around our central sun every 26,000 years. So 13,000 approximately one way, 13,000 another way. So you might have heard, and who knows, maybe it was news in 2012 or something, that the pole shift was happening and we were all going down, that the earth was going to flip over and dump us off or whatever. There's all sorts of constructs made up at the time. Who knows if any of them came true? We're still here. And this may just be a complete construct that we're experiencing at the moment. This could be I could, if I was let me see, if this was being created by AI, I would appear a lot more intelligent. But it's only my own artificial intelligence that's creating this for the most part. And that's why it's not artificial. It's my intelligence. It might be artificial. I don't know. But that's why I may not appear all that intelligent, and I'm good with that. I am recovering from being a know-it-all. I used to think I knew everything, and now I realize I know very little, and even that is suspect. So, you are one of 20 kin. So, like in astrology, you're one of 12 sun signs. In the Mayan calendar, you're one of 20 kin, depending on the day, the month, day, and year of your birth. So if you go to 13moon.com, you'll go to one of the Mayan calendar sites, and up in the right-hand corner, it'll say decode a birth date. And if you click on that and you go in and you put your birth date in, a month, day, and the year, and click decode a date, decode a birth date, it'll come up and it'll tell you which of the kin you are, which of the 20 kin you are. So I don't have them all memorized, but I'm a red dragon. That's my kin. So you're either going to be red, white, or blue, or yellow. So those are the 4 colors: red, white, blue, and yellow. And I'm a red. There are 5 groups within the red, and I don't remember them all, but let's just throw a few of them out. I'm a red dragon. There's also a red serpent. There's also a yellow sun, and there's a yellow seed. There's a white wizard. There's a white world bridger. There's a white mirror. And what was the other one? Blue. There's a blue storm. So if you have the calendar, or you just want to decode today's date to find out what kin is being represented today, you can just, when you go decode a date, it'll be today's date. Just hit that button and it'll tell you what it is. Or you can spend however much money it is and buy the calendar from them. And I do like to get this calendar, in July, I think it is, because I find it useful to just be able to look at what is the day of today. So, according to the Mayan calendar I don't know if the Mayans created this calendar or some regular old people, took some information from the Mayans and created this calendar. I don't know how that works. But today is, so there's, red, yellow, blue, white. Today is a day of the kin blue storm. And I think it's interesting because I think all of these are interesting. But the blue storm, the words related to the blue storm are catalyzes, self-generation, and energy. So those are all really interesting topics for me. So they're going to be part of our topics for today. Any of you who've made it this far and make it any further. there's a lot more of you all of a sudden. There's a lot more people who are subscribing to the channel. And I don't know if you're liking and subscribing, and I know that many of people that I know who have channels always say like and subscribe. But I typically don't say that. I might have said it at times, but I would just say there's a lot more people liking and subscribing. And I'm starting to hear from people in like Wales, which recently I was doing some things about the blue light download going on in Ireland. And anyway, I'm going to get more focused now. Drop into my deep self, get into my peaceful focus. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the blue storm. We must become the change we seek in the world. This is something supposedly Mahatma Gandhi said. I wasn't there. I don't know if it's true, but they still seem to be good words. I like them. We must become the change we seek in the world. And then you can take out must. We could say, we can become the change we seek in the world. And if we seek change in the world, then we can become that change. And the must has a little bit of a note of let's get on with it because things seem to be going downhill to some people, and maybe to you, and maybe to me. But we do feel like a change is coming, a change is here, a change is happening. Those may be things that we can all agree on. Something is changing. Currently, the world's changing maybe fairly rapidly from your perspective or my perspective. But on a blue storm day, it has to do with change. So all of existence is shaped from energy, information. The many configurations of energy that constitute the myriad forms of life carry with them distinct vibrations. So the many configurations of energy that constitute the myriad forms of life carry with them distinct vibrations. Each subtle resonance contributes to the overall energetic equation. We can discover how our intentions affect the vibration of the energy we output into the field. Therefore, by examining the unique energetic signatures carried by our thoughts, words, action, and experiences, we can refine how we wield our energy. Learning to conduct the power and potential of our inner forces most effectively. I think this is brilliant, and you might want to listen to it a few times, but I personally think this is brilliant. A catalyst, and this is by definition, a catalyst initiates or accelerates a process or event without being affected or consumed in the process. And I think that's worth some study if you want to just study how a catalyst can cause an event to take place and not be affected by it. That's interesting. It might be an interesting thing to attempt within oneself to not be affected by the changes one seems to initiate. As catalytic agents, we have the ability to induce responses and reactions, to stimulate chemistry of every situation we are in. If we can be the eye of the storm, the center point of stillness, the deep self, the deep place, the deep peace, we gain the power to alter the environment without being carried away by the storm. Blue Storm, ambassador of self-generation, inspires us to activate our inner resources that we may call upon our inner source to generate the transformation we seek to catalyze. As awakened thunder beings, doesn't that just seem kind of nice that this calendar is stating that we may very well be I'm looking for awakened thunder beings. We may be awakened thunder beings. I think that's, well, questionable, but it could be exciting. It could be fun to be an awakened thunder being, and that we have unlimited capacity to be of influence, be it through our vigor, charisma, or stillness. Blue Storm declares, circulate energy. Usher in renewal and reconfiguration. Thunderous outbreaks can be positively purifying. They create a lot of ozone. Unleash intensity while remaining anchored in the center of stillness, around which dances chaos. Silence is all pervasive. It exists in a droplet of water, the petal of a flower, a bolt of lightning, and the roar of thunder. And that's a quote by Anon. And I don't really know Anon personally, and that might just be an abbreviation of anonymous, which means they heard this saying, but they don't know who said it. Okay, that was just a lot of data download. That was maybe talking head data download, but it also may be some of the things that I work with in my life that help me to keep a pulse on the energetics that I'm experiencing, help me to have an understanding of those energetics. So that's, I think it's called the galactic calendar. And then possibly for this video, I'm also going to just show you a book that I like, that I use as kind of a textbook, The Nature Personal Reality by Jane Roberts. It's a Seth book, and Jane Roberts brought in this information from this being who called himself Seth. And I like the constructs that Seth talks about from this other dimension, and I have beings that I interact with from other dimensions who bring information into me, sometimes during the awake world, oftentimes in the dream world. But a lot of the information they bring to me correlates very specifically with the information Seth has brought in through Jane Roberts. And this book was written in the 70s, and a lot of other kind of New Age, I'm sorry if New Age offends you, it kind of offends me too, but it's a term, that 70s kind of new information coming in. A lot of the information that came after that time, because I think Jane Roberts was doing this in the 60s and kind of completed things maybe in the 70s, but she brought in a lot of information through this being Seth that then was repeated by other people and continue to be repeated by other people bringing in information from the higher realms or whatever. So there's a lot of data. So you may have shut this off already, and that's fine. So Seth talks about how our beliefs can be like fences that surround us, so they keep us from perceiving things outside of our belief. So our belief is like a fence, and they represent the boundaries of our experience. But there's one belief, however, that destroys the artificial barriers to perception, which is an expanding belief that automatically pierces false and inhibiting ideas. That is, the self is not limited. I'm not going into any detail about that. You just take that in if you want to. The self is not limited. And that in itself may kind of blow away many of your beliefs that you're limited by yourself. And the self is not limited. And then he says that statement is a statement of fact. It exists regardless of your belief or disbelief in it. And he's talking from the other levels, but he's talking about here also those of us who are in bodies here, that the self is not limited as a statement of fact, and it exists regardless of your belief or disbelief in it. And then following this concept is another. So that's concept one, number one. Self is not limited. I wrote number one, it wasn't in the book. Concept number two, there are no boundaries or separations of the self. And that's going to take just a little bit of time for you to think about that. And the separations of the self that you experience are the result of false beliefs. So the false belief, is that the self is limited or that there are boundaries or separations of the self. And so if you follow those two ideas, the self is not limited, there are no boundaries or separations of the self, then the third statement is you make your own reality and you're not limited to the reality you make. So those are things to ponder. I ponder them frequently, and you can ponder them as much as you want, or just say, "Oh, I get that," and throw it off to the side. Because we can understand things intellectually. Like, I understand those words. You make your own reality. I understand those words. I can believe that I understand what they mean. But then I'm in the belief, which is the limitation to actually understanding it. So if we don't believe what we hear, if we take what we hear and do something with it, we may learn from what we do with it, because we only understand the world through our experiences, not through our beliefs. I mean, we may have experiences through our beliefs, experiences of our limitations. Okay. So if you want to understand yourself and what you are, you can learn to experience yourself directly apart from your beliefs about yourself. And what I would like each reader to do is to sit quietly, close your eyes, try to sense within yourself the deep feeling tones that I mentioned earlier. This is not difficult to do. And I'm going to say, if you just connect with your deep self, and observe the movement of energy at the core of your being that goes up and down through your spine. It may be the Kundalini moving up and down through your spine, up into your cranium, continuing up through the crown chakra. That energy may just begin to move, and you can observe that happening. So if you just watch, have the experience you have, then your knowledge of their existence of these deep energies moving through you will help you to recognize the deep rhythms within you. And each individual will sense these tones in his or her own way, so don't worry about how they should feel. Simply tell yourself that they exist and that they are composed of great energies of your being made flesh. So you can have the perception that you are a being, and you can have the perception that you are a being living in a human body. And that's why they call you a human being. You're a being and you're in a human body. And then you just let yourself experience. And if you're used to terms like meditation, try to forget the term during this procedure. This is just noticing what you notice and noticing movements of energy within you without making up too many stories about them. Do not use any name. Free yourself from concepts and experience the being of yourself and the motion of your own vitality. Do not question, is this right? Am I doing it correctly? Am I feeling what I should feel? This is the book's first exercise for you. So this book, I'm giving you the very first exercise, and I've read the book. I went through and read the book. I'd done a whole bunch of exercises over the course of time, and I've come back to this chapter 1, to this basic exercise, because I'm starting to get it. But it took me a while. It might be because I perceive myself or you perceive me to be slow, or it may be that I could perceive myself to be very thorough. in experiences so that I experience them and so I actually understand through experience. This is the book's first exercise for you. You're not to use other people's criteria. No talking heads criteria. None of my criteria. There are no standards but your own feelings. What you become aware of when you go deep inside yourself, if you choose to do that. No particular time limit is recommended. This should be an enjoyable experience. Accept whatever happens as uniquely your own. The exercise will put you in touch with yourself. It will return you to yourself. It's quite a statement. This exercise will return you to yourself. Whenever you are nervous or upset, take a few moments to sense this feeling tone within you, and you will find yourself centered in your own being, secure. And I'm going to read, even though I didn't underline it, I'm going to read this next paragraph, and that should be it. When you have tried this exercise several times, then feel these deep rhythms go out from you in all directions. As I talk about the fountain coming out of the top of your head, crown chakra. Go out from you in all directions, as indeed they do. Electromagnetically, they radiate out through your physical being, and in ways that I hope to explain later, they form the environment that you know, even as they form your physical image. See, that's why I have gotten so much more spiritually advanced looking since when this video started. Now, I don't know if that's true. I'm going to look and see if there's been a change just from this video itself. But these are the exercises that if you really want to understand what I'm speaking about, the only way you can understand what I'm speaking about is to have these experiences yourself and then go, oh yeah, I totally grok that. And that term grok comes from a book called Stranger in a Strange Land or something. That's about an alien that comes to Earth. And he uses the term grok when he understands something. So we're all aliens here. We're all from other places. We just are beings that go, okay, let's go into Earth and maybe do something constructive, maybe help in the process that this Earth is going through. And then some of us didn't realize what a possibly difficult experience it was going to be during this 28 years of cleansing. So we have one more year, less than a year, because we're 5 days into the final year. So we have approximately 360 days of the spiritual cleansing left to go. And I'm just going to state it out to the universe. It would be just fine with me if I began to find this whole experience a lot easier. If I began to sleep better, sleep deeper, sleep through the night, feel more regenerated from my sleep, that would be great. If I need to do more kind of detoxing of the physical body, I hope that will go gently and easily and complete as soon as it's in the highest good, and hopefully that's soon. The whole detox process is, I feel done with it, but I don't think I am quite yet. And that's a belief. And we only know what's kind of true through our experience. So when the detox is over, maybe I'll recognize it's over because I'll feel different. So that's it for this morning. I didn't really know. I had a couple little ideas about the Mayan calendar, about some words from Seth that I've been really working with, not just thinking about, but embodying it, really taking it in, and this process of going into the deep self, feeling the peace and calm of the deep self, staying in that eye of the storm, and maybe the storm passes. We will find out, and we'll all do our best. So I'll finish with the four agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Do your best. Don't assume, and don't take it personally. And with those words, I'll now say my favorite word that I made up. Now must go.